Have you ever been told no when trying to access the home care support services that you need? Maybe you've been denied funding for home care support services that are crucial for you to stay independent, safe, and live with dignity in your life. Maybe you've been told that home care package funding or government programs that you may or may not be in don't cover those sort of things. Whatever the case, you may actually have more rights than what you're actually aware of. In today's video, I'm going to show you exactly what you are able to achieve when it comes to accessing your aged care entitlements that are there to help you live comfortably and on your terms. In order to have this conversation in a practical way, we need to kick things off by talking about two very important concepts. The first one being this concept of information power. And this second one, which is known as authority power. Getting your head around these two concepts can make an absolute world of difference when it comes to navigating the complexity of it all so that you can access these support services that you're looking for. Let's first talk about information power. What is information power? Well, information power means that the person you are speaking with, whether it's a care manager, case coordinator, assessor, home care provider, often has more information about how the aged care system works than what you do. It seems that they may understand the rules of how the aged care system works, at least better than what you do. They are projecting this image of what can and can't be approved under the aged care system, and they're familiar with the technical language of how to articulate the terms and conditions of how the aged care system works. And with all this, the problem for most people who are trying to navigate their way through the aged care system is you don't know what you don't know. And because this is the case, you then don't know what questions to ask or what points to challenge them on if you're hearing something that isn't quite working for you and your needs. And then there's that second concept which I introduce, which is what we call authority power. This happens when you're dealing with somebody who's in an official position of authority, like an assessor. By default, people look at these positions of authority and they think that these people know best, purely by the nature of the role that they're in. But sometimes even experts get it wrong, or they make decisions that aren't in your best interests. And because they hold this position of authority, many people feel very uncomfortable in challenging them or asking for more details around their thinking and their rationale. And this is why so many families, so many seniors and family caregivers aren't getting the support that they need. They don't know what support's available, what their rights are, or even what they should be challenging. They ultimately end up accepting a no from somebody they see has all the power. But here's the good news. You don't have to stay in the dark. There are resources and tools to help you understand your rights and give you the confidence to ask for what you're entitled to. Okay, so now that we've talked about this power imbalance, let's flip the script a little bit. Let's talk about the resources that can put you in control. And there's three main ones that I want every older person in this country and their family caregivers to have front of mind, preferably before embarking on the home care journey. But if you are already in that home care journey, definitely have these ones down pat. Here's the first one, the Charter of Aged Care Rights. This is a document that guarantees your rights to receive safe, high quality care, to be treated with dignity and respect, and to have the right to be part of the decision-making process that goes into the care somebody receives. You can find this public document, the Charter of Aged Care Rights, online, but I'm also going to include a link to these three resources in the description below, and I'll also put it in the comment section as well. Next, we have the Home Care Packages User Handbook. This guide is your official documentation from the government for understanding what you can and cannot use your home care package funding for. It's very easy to feel lost in the whole home care packages journey, maze, which is often referred to. But this handbook does a decent job of breaking down the process of using a home care package or being a participant in the home care package program, and helps people identify what they're entitled to. There is a lot of grey area in this document, I find, and because of the big challenge that a lot of people face who are at this stage of life, and that is this situation of social isolation, you can often lose the ability to connect with others, to compare and contrast your situation with others. So for that reason, what we've put together is what we call the Home Care Packages Inclusions List. Now you can find this on the VillageLocal Community Hub. This is an online forum which has thousands of older people across the country who are at various stages of their own home care journey, all sharing their situation, asking each other questions, reviewing and reading about what other people's situation is. And that's giving them the ability to compare and contrast their own situation. So within that VillageLocal Community Hub, there is a section in there called the Home Care Packages Inclusions List. And in that specific subsegment of the hub, people are sharing what they've managed to get approved and what they haven't been managing to get approved. And it's really interesting to see because you can often find a lot of people getting approved for things that are on the surface level. When you refer back to the official government documentation, it says that you can't get them approved. But again, it circles back to that concept of knowing your consumer rights, knowing your entitlements, and being able to understand the concept, the real concept of this idea of information power and authority power. And these aren't bad things, they are just realities of life. You see it in all aspects of life. But just recognizing that that's what's happening and knowing how to best deal with it. And we're going to get onto that in this video. Now let's dive into one of the most common problems that's stopping people from getting access to the level of support that they need. And that is getting accurately assessed in the first place. If you watched any number of my videos in the past, you've heard me talk about this concept of the RAS assessor and the ACAT or ACAS assessor, depending on what state you're in. And there are these two tiers of assessments, the RAS assessor, Regional Assessment Service, only being able to approve people for entry-level Commonwealth Home Support Program services, while the ACAT or ACAS assessor having the authority to approve people for those higher level services. And it's the job of the RAS assessor to identify people that need those higher services and to refer them to the ACAT assessor for approval of those higher services. The problem is there's a bit of a bottleneck there. You're really reliant on that RAS assessor to truly understand your situation and to empathize with your situation so that they do forward on that request to ACAS. Now, unfortunately, a lot of people don't even know, who are going through this assessment process, don't even know that there is this two-tier assessment structure, and therefore aren't even aware that if they need higher level supports, aren't even aware that they really need to be aiming to get past that RAS assessor, or to have that RAS assessor connect with their challenges and partner with them to be forwarded to ACAS. And this is where it becomes the consumer's problem, because the RAS assessor will only act on what the consumer is telling them. When I looked at this situation when I first started VillageLocal back in 2017, I noticed that back then, the assessors, the RAS assessors, would take a more holistic approach to look into the environment, piecing the words together that may not be said by the consumer, but they could sort of see the situation for what it is. I can't say that doesn't happen anymore, but I can certainly say it's not happening as much. RAS assessors these days, at least from my personal experience of the hundreds of people that have come to me with the outcomes of their assessments, I can clearly see that the RAS assessor may personally want to refer them on, but the consumer has not articulated the things that need to be said to send to ACAT. And the way that this is all transpiring is that a RAS assessor, who's the first assessor that you come across through the home care journey, they might push for CHSP services, those entry-level services, Commonwealth Home Support Program, acknowledging that you need more. And that's why As a senior who's going through this journey, or as a family caregiver who's supporting a loved one through this journey, it's absolutely crucial to be clear and well documented about your needs. If you feel CHSP services isn't enough, say so and explain why. Document your health conditions, your challenges, and explain why you need more help. By being factual in the way you communicate with a RAS assessor, this will help you justify, in a data-driven approach, your reasoning to be referred to ACAT or ACAS, and it will ensure that you don't just get brushed off. You have the right to request it, and the more prepared you are with documentation, the better your chances are of approval. So now let's talk about how you can put all this together into practice. Here are 4 tips that you can use to advocate for yourself or a loved one. The first thing, document everything. Keep records of all communications, all assessments, all phone calls, all emails, and decisions made by an assessor or your provider. And if you're denied a particular type of service or product, ask for the feedback in writing. If you can get them to reference the specific guidelines that is forming the foundation of their response, get them to do this. The next tip I'll give you in advocating for yourself or a loved one is to use specific language. And what I mean by this, when speaking to an assessor or your home care provider or my aged care or a healthcare professional, use the right terminology. If you need an ACAT assessment, say it clearly. I need a higher level of support services that only an ACAT assessor can give me access to. This makes it harder for the person that you're saying this to brush you off because A, it shows them you know what you're talking about. B, it also shows them you are aware of what you're entitled to. And C, it also makes them aware that if they don't enable you to exercise your rights, chances are they've got more to answer to that after the conversation you're currently having with them. So they're going to take you seriously. And a final point, you're not mincing your words. You're making their job easy. They know what you want. So they're going to try to help you with it. Now, I've been doing this for long enough. This is my 20th year in healthcare this year. And over those 20 years, I've met thousands of healthcare professionals. And the overwhelming number of professionals that I've met aren't in the profession because they're chasing riches. No. They're doing it because they're compassionate people. Even though it may not seem that way at times, or for the person that might be in front of you, give them the benefit of the doubt and think that they do want to help you. They just need you to help them help you. So let's talk about point number 3. You need to know when to actually escalate. If you are unfortunately hitting a wall, it's time to escalate the situation. And you need to know how to do that. And there are 2 channels that I want to direct you down in order to execute on that escalation process. Well, actually, I might rephrase it. There's actually 3 channels. So the first channel is if you're dealing with an individual within an organization, say your home care provider, first ask that, and that individual is kind of causing you the roadblock. First, openly ask, preferably in writing, so either via an email or a letter, ask them, how do you go about escalating the situation? And how do you go about formalizing an official query on a decision that's being made? And get them to step you through they might call it their complaints process. I don't really like the term complaints because it may not be a complaint. It's just a situation where 2 entities aren't aligned. That's not necessarily a complaint. It's just a thing, okay? And that happens in life. And you can still maintain respect for one another, even if you're in that situation. So ask your provider or the organization that you currently, that individual is working within, ask them, how do you go about escalating your condition within their policies and procedures? And they will give you an official process to do that. I suggest you do that as a first port of call. If that doesn't yield results, I would then take it to the next level. And it may be that it's a language thing. In other words, the terminology that you're using to gain access to the things that you're feeling that you need access to, it may not be the words that they need to hear to tick whatever boxes they need to tick. So if that's what's happening, it may be useful to go down this next channel, and that is to involve an advocate, a professional advocate who knows the lingo of the aged care system. Now, there's a government-funded advocacy service in this country called the Older Persons Advocacy Network. It's often referred to as OPAN. What their role is not to convince the organisation that you're having an issue with to change their mind. That's not their role. And they also don't have any jurisdiction or authority to make rulings and force an organisation to change. That's not what an advocate does. An advocate just speaks on your behalf and tries to articulate your situation in the most impactful way possible. So if OPAN get involved to advocate for your situation and it still doesn't yield benefits, don't be putting shade on OPAN. They're just there to advocate, not to make rulings. Okay? If you're still not seeing success and you still feel that your situation is justified, what you're asking for is justified for your situation, I then encourage you to take it to the next level. The next level is lodging your case with the Aged Care Quality and Safety Commission. If your situation involves a challenge in dealing with a home care provider, all government registered home care providers in this country answer to the Aged Care Quality and Safety Commission. So they're the ones who are policing the aged care system in this country. They're the ones who are designing policy and making sure that that policy is being followed. They've got an official process to lodge your situation. You can go to their website, you can call them up. It's a very well documented process, and you can lodge your situation with them. They will then review your situation. They will review how you're being treated in that situation, and they will make a decision as to whether the organisation you're interacting with is acting in line with the policy. And if they are, well, then your argument or your case is then to talk to the Aged Care Quality and Safety Commission to talk to them about how their policy is not benefiting or is negatively impacting the consumer. But the Aged Care Quality and Safety Commission may find that the policy that they've written isn't actually being followed by the provider. In that case, the Aged Care Quality and Safety Commission can have the jurisdiction to go, provider, you are not working within the guidelines of the Aged Care Act. We need you to change X, Y, and Z, and you may get a good outcome from that. Okay, so I hope you can sort of appreciate the escalation process. You first tried to work it out with the individual. That wasn't working. You then ask the individual, what is the official process in your organization to elevate the situation? If that didn't work, then you got an advocate involved to see if they could better articulate your situation in the language of what this organization might need to hear. If that didn't work, then you took it to the next level, which is the Aged Care Quality and Safety Commission. Hopefully you'll find some really practical methodology for escalating things, advocating for your rights, and accessing entitlements. And in summation for all of that, I'll put it as a separate point, and that is, don't accept no without an explanation. If you're told something cannot be covered by whatever home care program that you're part of, whether you're in the Commonwealth Home Support Program, whether you're getting a home care package, whether you're somebody listening in who's getting services via the Department of Veteran Affairs, whatever the case, if you're told no, don't accept that no without justification and an explanation from the person who's saying no. And don't be afraid to respectfully ask for that justification. I know it can be hard, but you need to push through. This is your well-being, this is your independence, this is your dignity at stake here. So don't leave that up to somebody else. Ask for the specific policy or regulation that they're founding that decision on. And often, you making this request in itself can make the organization or the individual reconsider what they're about to tell you next. So if you're feeling stuck, you do actually have the power to change the outcome. Lean on resources like the Aged Care Charter of Rights, like OPAN, Older Persons Advocacy Network, like the VillageLocal Community Hub, and the thousands of other people in the VillageLocal Community Hub who are walking the same path as what you're walking. And of course, the Aged Care Quality and Safety Commission. If this all sounds useful and you want to be further part of the conversation, then also head over to the Village Local Community Hub, join the conversation there. It's free to join. It's life-changing for many. I'm sure you'll get the value out of it that thousands of others are. I'll see you in the next video.